Hey there, Jeremy here, and welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode than what you're used to. We actually had something different recorded for today with a guest that you're going to hear next week, but I wanted to move this a little bit, and I was trying to think of a way to talk about this, and I decided the best way to do it is to record a podcast episode for those of you out there. And as you're hearing this, it's Wednesday, but yesterday, my book, Unremarkable to Extraordinary, re-released. And a lot of people are like, re-released? I don't understand. And I haven't really got into telling the story. This isn't a long episode, but I wanted to share that story with you because I've been so excited about this book. 7 years ago, I started a podcast called the Create Your Own Life Show. And one of the original goals when I wrote it is I wanted to write a book about what does it take to be, it's changed over the years, but it's arrived at what does it take to be extraordinary. And originally it was, world class or the best or whatever it may be, but extraordinary, I think, is interesting, right? Because we all kind of start essentially as the same level as human beings. Some may start with more, some may start with less, but many times you only have staying power if you make something out of yourself. If you inherit money, but you don't learn skills, you don't learn abilities, you don't connect with people, there's a good chance you're going to lose it. And to me, I think what you do and what you work for and what you create is what creates somebody to be extraordinary, right? Because you create these skills, you build these skill sets, you create yourself as a person. And I think that's what's incredible. So this has been something that's been on my heart for a long time and I've wanted to talk about, and I've had all these conversations, and I've learned from incredible people like NBA Hall of Famers, NFL Hall of Famers, Super Bowl champions, World Series champions, the former CIA director, a 4-time Indy 500 champion. Like, I've had some incredible conversations, platinum recording artists. And I put together this book. It took me 2 years to write, and the launch was set for June of last year. And it was kind of a interesting experience. And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus on this one, because at the same time, I understand that, the economy has changed. The publishing industry took a big hit. And, frankly, the publisher I worked with at the time is still a really good friend. But it was a really upsetting situation. And sometimes I try to take events and relationships and separate them and take a look at, okay, well, I still care about this person and I can see where they're coming from. But man, this is a really bad situation. So it was June of last year, and we had, the book was launching, Unremarkable to Extraordinary. And I remember so clearly, and I had just come back from the gym, and I was kind of just checking in with people, seeing what people thought of the book, if they had gotten their book purchased yet. Because we got a lot of pre-orders out there too. We had a lot of people that had ordered the book. And it was June 20th of 2022. It was right around 8 o'clock. I remember, because that's about when I come home from the gym, around between 7 and 8. And I started getting text messages from people. Hey, your book is sold out already. What? I'm like, that's incredible. We sold so many copies. This is so cool. And that was kind of the first experience. I'm like, wow, this is going better than I thought. We sold out copies. Wow, people really want this book. Within a few hours, people started telling me, hey, I just got an email. It says my order was canceled and the money has been returned to my account. So now all of my orders are getting canceled. I'm like, what? That's strange. So I reached out to the publisher, and he was on a flight at that time, so I couldn't get a hold of him. I'm like, okay, that's okay. It is what it is. Then all of a sudden I get a message from somebody, hey, dude, why is your book out of print? I think it was Dennis Brown that reached out to me. He's like, hey, man, why is your book out of print? I'm like, out of print? What? So now no one can buy the book on launch day, and leading up to this, I had done somewhere between 75 and 100 podcasts as a guest to promote this. So there's all of that time and my team's time that I had paid for and whatnot to do that. We had a launch party that had just happened that we paid thousands of dollars for. We paid thousands of dollars in ads. So we were probably in somewhere about $50,000 to promote this book. We had thousands of pre-orders, and on launch day, we lost all the pre-orders. We ended up getting distribution going a little bit, that we were eventually able to move 80 copies. But very quickly, everything I had worked for was over. And I found out later on that the publisher had hit hard times, as a lot of companies had during COVID. There was a big issue with returns and things, and they ended up ending operation. And I found out from somebody other than my publisher on launch day. And I'm like, oh man, you got to be kidding me. On launch day, they end up having to, basically end their company service. And I'm trying to launch a book, and there's no way to do that. They had tried their best, and I do appreciate it, to make distribution go, but it wasn't something that could be done long term. So that was, for me, it seemed like what was the end of the book. But I had so much belief in this. I wanted to get it out. I wanted to get it out to the right people. I wanted to make an impact with this, because there was hundreds of pre-readers of this book, like people that ordered the book before it existed. We got it out. We got it out to people. And just the feedback I had gotten from people was incredible. I had somebody say, every executive needs to read this book, because those of you that know me well know that I'm short and to the point. I'm not going to write a tome for you. The book's only 168 pages. The goal was to write something you can read on a 3-hour plane ride. That was the goal, because I want you to be able to take something, read it, understand it, figure out how you can use it and do something with it. I'm not one for motivation. I'm not one for rah-rah. I'm somebody to see how it's done, try how to do it myself. If I can't do it, figure out what was broken and then do it. And that's really what the goal of this book was, to create something like that. And the feedback I got from people is that's how they were consuming it. It was helpful in that way. It was what they were looking for. And I was just really blown away by it. So I had the idea, I had to get this out there. So a number of years ago, I was at a good friend's event, Justin Shank's Growth Now movement. And I had met this woman named Karen Anderson, and she's a book coach, and she also works for Morgan James Publishing. And I reached out to her. I said, Karen, this is the experience I just had. I have so much faith in this book. What do I do? What do I do to get this book out there? And she said, I think this book is something Morgan James would be interested in. So I'm going to reach out to the publisher, David Hancock, and I'm going to see if they're interested in picking up this book. Comes back to me. She says, I got some good news. They're interested in your book. They're excited about your book. The publisher was really excited about your book. They kind of handed it around to some people. They were interested as well. And this book was given new life with a company that has many Wall Street Journal bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers. So I actually ended up in a better position than I started in, which is great. And I said, I'm grateful to the publisher I had started with for the reason of this book was pulled out of me, right? I could not have written this book without help, but I'm in this incredible position now with Morgan James Publishing because I saw it through. I was willing to see it out there. And I just think there's so many people that have to see and hear this book. It almost didn't see the light of day so many times. I've lost, as I said, tens of thousands of dollars in what was supposed to be a book launch that was a crash. And this is where we're at now. So if you're out there and you've enjoyed this short story and you want to learn about what I've learned about being extraordinary, we put together a site for it, getextraordinarybook.com. You can go over there and grab your copy. It'll redirect you to different places you can buy it from. And there's an offer over there as well for those of you that want to grab it. You can get something called our 30 Days of Extraordinary with a purchase, as well as a free masterclass that's going to be coming in the future. So I would appreciate your support. I appreciate the ability to tell you this story and show you kind of what it's been through to get out there. The book itself, had it not been, in my opinion, something that was so extraordinary, it would not have gotten to this point. So thank you. Have a great day. This is something different. You're going to be back to normally scheduled content next week, but please help me. Please support the book, and hope you've enjoyed this conversation.